very special episode of Collider Jedi Council. I am Kristian Harloff, a.k.a. Darth Harloff. I have a huge Kool-Aid smile on my face because the Force Awakens trailer, the third one, it debuted during Monday Night Football. We all watched it. We have the full council here. First, as always, it is Mark 2D2, Mark Ellis. How you doing, buddy?
What a ball game that was, huh? I mean, God, the four quarters were okay. The halftime kicked ass.
It was a shame that that trailer interrupted the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
My really non-sympathetic friends at the table. He is Obi-John Kenobi, John Campea. John, how are you?
Very excited, and you can call trailer 3, but I guess in many ways, Lucasfilm, Disney, they're calling it just the trailer. They're calling it their first, their last, the official trailer. It
by
is
definition,
trailer 3.
it is the first. But by definition, it is the first trailer.
Sure.
They're the ones they've said, and they've come out and said both times that we're teasers. And to be honest, this one doesn't necessarily give away a lot of story, and I love that it didn't give away too much story. I got enough. But what we're going to do on this particular episode, like I said, it's a special episode. You're not going to, there's no what's the deal with canon on this one or Twitter questions. It's just a breakdown of the trailer, things and speculations and theories that we might have of things that we saw, overall thoughts. And I want to start with John because I just got here and I know you guys shot the reaction video. I'm jealous I wasn't able to be with you guys. So I want to get your initial thoughts, John. The trailer, you saw it. What'd you think?
I loved it. Yeah. It is a masterfully put together trailer for a friend. Look, if this would have been some other franchises, then you would have needed to take a different approach with this trailer. This is not any other franchise, though. This is Star Wars, which means we don't have to, in our marketing, some movies need to do this, and that's fine. But if we're Star Wars, we don't need to go completely bombastic with our trailer. We don't have to show all the money shots. Hell, we don't even need to show any of our money shots if we don't want to in this. Let's just give them the atmosphere, give them the feel of Star Wars. I actually feel like we got a lot more story than what a lot of people are giving it credit for. And a lot of it was, the story was just told from use of visual elements as well. We see Rey. Now we know Rey is very much almost like a Luke and Anakin kind of character. Yeah. Luke, on a desert planet, sees themselves as nothing. That beautiful shot where just some random ship was taking off into orbit and just the way Rey was looking at it. That told you a half hour worth of story right there, just in that one shot. We get a lot of Boyega. We understand that maybe the Force, the Sith, the Jedi have passed into myth at some point, just 30 years later. We get all that just from the little bits of dialogue from Solo. They told so much story with so few words without giving major plot points away. I'm surprised they didn't show us the Starkiller, considering that they put it in the poster. I
think they might have shown what it does. Right.
Mm-hmm. They didn't. I mean, we said earlier today, you and me, Mark, on Movie Talk, that we didn't actually think they were going to show us Luke. There's a part of me who really wishing, especially after we see John Boyega and Kylo Ren go at each other with lightsabers, and then Star Wars Force Awakens comes up. I expected it to go down for a second, and then a split second of Luke standing there. I'm like, ah!
You know why I love they didn't show Luke? Because not only has it been consistent with what they've been doing so far and this kind of mystery, and we've all been speculating for a long time. We only think he's going to be in the movie for like 5 or 10 minutes. But
not until the third act, at least.
Right. But I love it because when you do see him in the movie now, people are going to lose their minds.
Oh, yeah.
Disney and Lucasfilm have done a brilliant job of marketing this film. If you go back into the archives here of our show, when are we getting the trailer? Are we getting it on Force Friday? Are we getting it here? Are we getting it? We kept when, and we said though, when it's going to come, you're going to start to hear the rumblings, and people are going to start talking about it, and you'll know. And it became an event. When was the last time that you guys were camping out and waiting for a movie, an event? The tickets are selling out within 10 minutes. This is insane.
Oh, yeah. Websites are like, there's a great screenshot right now that one of our friends over at Disney put up that had like Fandango, IMAX, Regal, AMC, one or two of the other theater chains as well, had all of their windows up in different window browsers, and all were crashed.
Crazy, Mark.
All were crashed.
What did you think, first of all, of the trailer? What were your thoughts, and how you feeling about it?
Well, Kristian, after I changed my pants and got some baby wipes, this thing was everything I wanted to see, and even more than I thought I would get, yet it told me less. They're playing their cards close to the vest. A lot of the shots you saw in this trailer were kind of like the reverse of shots that we saw in the last trailer. Like you see what is probably Finn's TIE fighter crashing down to Earth, and we kind of already suspected that. There's a lot of things we suspected from the last trailer that we got confirmation of this one, but it didn't. This one might have even given away less story than the second one did, because the second one you got Luke Skywalker's voiceover. He's talking about the Force, and nerds like us can read into that. We can read a lot into this. Here, it's giving us the landscape more. It's telling us that it's 30 years later, that there's all these legends. That was one of my favorite scenes in the trailer, was when they're asking Han Solo about the legends, and he's saying that all the legends are true. And hearing Han Solo, here's a guy that, I don't know, 35, 36 years ago, he was saying he didn't believe in the Force. It was just that there's no all-powerful thing controlling his destiny, and now he's teaching the youngins about the dark side and the light side.
Well, he is or was married to Darth Vader's daughter, so you got to believe it.
He might still be married, because he's given Princess Leia a hug.
I don't know. Let's break this thing down. Let's get into it here. So we're going to be, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of run the trailer here without any volume. We're going to go over some of the images and stuff that we saw and break it down. And if you haven't watched the trailer, I suggest doing that first.
Treat yourself.
But, so the first shot of Daisy Ridley, just like you were saying, John, the character that she's absolutely going to be the Luke of this franchise. It looks like, Luke of this trilogy. And you see her, and the staff is there again. She's got the gear, and in that Super Star Destroyer, man, how I love the size of that thing, and they really showed you, look how massive this thing is, and look how fearless she is. That she's a scavenger. She does it. This is her job. This is what she does. This is where she is. I love these initial images.
And that was another thing that they hinted at the previous trailer that we all saw live at Celebration, is that we saw this huge Star Destroyer that was crash landed. We see some tiny speeder racing towards it. That's who was on the speeder. Now we have confirmation. That's her. She's scavenging for artifacts. She's playing around in that thing. What's she going to find? It's probably going to piss some people off.
The symbolism, too, in those opening shots, I think, is something you can't overlook, because we're learning about her as a character. And what do we see her doing? She's alone in this chasmic Star Destroyer belly going down. And I think artistically that gives us, that's symbolic and gives a symbolism of her in and of herself. Isolated, alone, empty world, something without some substance or form, you would think, on the surface. And I really like how it visually reinforced those things, artistically, just beautifully done. I think you're going to see themes of that throughout the entire trailer.
Well, it doesn't only just visually, you're 100% correct, but also right as she's, and what you said there beautifully actually was the fact that when she is by herself in this isolated, lonely, barren Star Destroyer, that's her life.
Yes.
But at that point, it's also, you hear who I believe, Maz Kanata, who are you? Right?
Yeah. Who are you?
That line right there is everything that we were just describing here, and she says, I'm nobody, which is what
she wants people to think.
Which is garbage.
Yeah.
She might not know she's somebody.
She
It's been a theme in Star Wars.
She knows.
People initially don't know who they are, how powerful they are, then they discover that. I'm just saying maybe it's her.
I think she knows, because this is also the spoilers that we had gotten from the toys. Is Kylo Ren. It seems, I believe, that Kylo Ren was talking to her when he's like, is it true you're a scavenger now? They know each other.
Yeah.
She knows who she is. She just took off. And I think that she's chosen. It's very similar to what you were saying, John, with Luke, how Luke was on this planet. One way or another, they're going to parallel one another, because when Luke, what kind of turned his destiny in a different direction was with the Stormtroopers, Obi-Wan, the droids were the reason that whole event with the droids crashing on Tatooine turned his life into another direction. I think Boyega crashing onto Jakku turns her life into another direction.
No, I completely agree, and I think there's going to be something significant. I didn't know if at first it was the staff, and then we realized you showed me the reference you had, which makes a lot of sense. It's really good that she already had the staff. I think her adventures into that Star Destroyer, I think she is going to find something significant that might help kickstart that journey. Meeting Boyega, though, is going to be the catalyst. Her coming across Boyega is going to be the catalyst. That brings the conflict there, as probably Phasma is on the hunt down for the deserter. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of points out. And I don't want to jump the gun too much here, but I'm more convinced than ever that Kylo Ren and Rey are in fact siblings. I am more
Siblings?
convinced.
Oh, you changed because you changed.
I was going to
that.
say the bet on this episode of Jedi Council is
Let's
whether
wait.
they're
Let's
siblings
save
or
it
not.
to the
I'm
end.
just saying
Right.
when it happens,
All right.
there might be some punches thrown. It's going to get intense.
Don't forget to ask that question at the end because I'm very, especially after this.
After the poster too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then you see her, and the other reason, Mark, that I don't think that I think that she knows is because she's been involved, I think, with some of these people too, because she's got BB-8, which I believe is Poe's droid. So she has Poe's droid right now because they're on the desert, they're rolling together. I love that shot with her with the staff, and then their relationship you can already tell. And now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Kathleen Kennedy say this is actually like the first like female droid in the Star Wars movies too? Does she have like a?
I don't know if she said
recall
BB-8's
that.
a female, but I don't know.
Might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm
and
just curious.
I'm saying I think she probably is somebody.
That would
and
explain
she's
why
aware
I-
she's somebody. I'm just saying. I'm just being devil's advocate.
Yeah.
She might not.
That
know.
would explain why I also heard that BB-8 is always late. I'm just saying.
I knew that was coming. All right.
Maybe not the
and
strongest driver.
The next, unbelievable. The next shot is,
Kidding.
of course, of Rey, and she. Now, this is, I think that, like we just said, where she looks up, she's working on whatever she does. She seems to be like her grandfather. She's able to put together things pretty well. And she's looking up, and there's like a smile on her face almost as she's looking up. And I don't know if that's. I don't think that that's the TIE crashing at that point. It might be, but she sees something and she smiles. I'm curious what you guys
Well, those
think
are
that
those
was.
eyes, and we've seen images that are similar to that before, probably in that same scene where she just seems like somebody who's up for adventure, who's been
Right.
waiting, who's been laying low, who is ready for some sort of fight battle to prove her worth to herself and maybe to somebody else that she left a long time ago. So she's ready to play.
Or we're going to find out she has been running from that life her whole life. Like understanding that her lineage, and I still believe she knows what her lineage is. I think at some point she decided to run away. But I mean, now I'm getting 5 steps ahead of myself. I mean, but who knows?
Or is she or has she consistently been on the search for her father? Maybe Luke has been gone for a long time on this temple. Maybe she's scavenging to find clues.
Well, that'd be odd because Han is her father.
We'll see.
There is something to be said.
I don't
though,
know.
and-
You think Han's her father? Like, you
I
think
do.
that
I do.
relationship. You think that even when they're talking to each other like that, it doesn't seem like that father-daughter relationship.
But look, there was a guy named Anakin a long time ago. And he wasn't the best daddy, okay? I'll give you that. But there was a smart move on his part to hide his kids from what their destiny was. And so if everything that went
Well,
down
he
with the
didn't
Empire
hide it,
and
though.
the
that.
rebellion.
He
I mean,
didn't.
yeah,
Obi-Wan
it
did
was
that.
Obi-Wan did. But there was a significant desire to not let them know what they were supposed to become.
Right.
So in this landscape where you have the Empire's fallen, but you have the rebellion, and God knows what it looks like now, maybe there was the same line of thinking where we don't want our kids to know, because you're talking about all these legends that, is it true, all these legends? And she's asking,
Or
isn't that
maybe-
her asking Han like about the legends? It just seems like
What?
she might not be fully aware of who she is.
Maybe. I mean, it's going to be curious. And the next
I'm
shot,
winning them over, guys. I'm
don't-
winning them over.
I don't know if you win me over. I still think that she still is going to be part of the I think she knows a deal about
she's
it.
got
for
an
sure.
inkling.
An inkling, but how much? You're right. Depending on history. Now, the next thing is a shot that we've kind of seen before, and it's that shot of all the stormtroopers talking to or listening to someone. Now, the shot from this angle, more and more, I think it might be Snoke. And John, I asked you earlier before we start shooting, and you said you think it is 100%.
Yeah, I have very little doubt of Snoke, and I think there's a reason they're keeping that camera so far away from him. And the closer up shot, which we've seen in other little glimpses of footage, the closer up shot is the one from behind.
Right.
When the camera's in
Still not
front,
seeing him, yeah.
from a mile and a half away. I think that's a dead giveaway that's probably Snoke.
It was closer than the last one, though. It's interesting. It's like we had like mezzanine before, and now we have
Right.
like box seats. Now
Yeah.
we're closer. We're in the mosh pit now,
Yeah.
and we can see. I thought at first glance, I thought it looked more like Hux than anybody else, but from that back angle, it looked like Hux was standing off to the side.
But why
so
wouldn't they show Hux though?
I like the fact that we're slowly getting closer. It's like a tease. Hey, you're getting closer to seeing
Right.
what the hell's going on at this meeting.
And then we have that shot that we saw with that we've seen before in the trailer again, but it has Boyega taking off the stormtrooper helmet, and this is where he says, "I was born to do one thing, and now I have nothing to fight for." That made me start thinking he is going to be like some kind of universal soldier or something. I think that he was trained since he was younger, not a clone, but I think that I think it goes back into what we're seeing in Rebels and what we've seen in these comics is that they're rounding up these kids who are maybe force sensitive or whatever they were, and they're training them with remember, the original Ralph McQuarrie art had stormtroopers with lightsabers. So they've been doing a lot of stuff with the Ralph McQuarrie imagery. So why not? And we've had horrible luck with stormtroopers in the past. They're terrible shooters. So maybe it's time to train these guys with lightsabers and be able to make them menacing. And now he splits off, and he's like, I have nothing. I don't know what to fight for now. That's my theory on him.
I heard that his voiceover, it was great hearing him talk. It was just great.
It was nice finally hearing him talk,
what
yeah,
his voice
absolutely.
sounds like. It sounded like I wanted it to sound like. I heard what he was saying, and it almost sounded like he had a path, and then he left it. And then he's coming back to that path. So it might not necessarily that he was just trained to be a fighter. Maybe he was trained, maybe he was brought up moralistically and then he just decided to leave it. Or maybe he thought he was following that path and got mixed up in the wrong team and he hit his breaking point.
That's what I'm saying, though. Why not both of those? I think that it's a mixture of both. I think that it's that path that you just said is exactly what happens. But I think because he's been trained this particular way, now he doesn't know where to go, where to fight for.
And clearly he has raw fighting ability that we saw from the lightsaber scene when he's going up against Kylo Ren, because he's not as technically proficient with a lightsaber as somebody like Kylo Ren probably is, but he's got that Hammer and Hank Aaron pose where he's athletic, he's raw, you can mold that, but he's been in a lot of battles before.
Yeah, I think it is a simpler rendition of what exactly you guys are talking about. I think he just sees himself as, I am a born warrior. Yeah. And now I don't have anything to fight for.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he becomes disillusioned, probably either disillusioned or he was rejected out of I keep wanting to call it the Empire, the First Order. One of the two things: deserter, kicked out, whatever, or wrongly accused. He was on trial, then he escaped, whatever. I just think it's as simple as he's a born fighter, born warrior, probably that he didn't even realize because he's so force sensitive and all that kind of stuff. And now he becomes disillusioned, whatever. And I think it's probably something that simpler, or it could be a lot more deep and intricate, like you guys are suggesting.
But it's almost like when you're force sensitive, it almost seems like there's a time in your life, and I don't know how Princess Leia handled it, but like there's a time in your life when you make a decision that you want more, whether it was Luke Skywalker and just something pushing him towards saving this mysterious princess he didn't know a lot about. And maybe that's something with Finn, where it's like you hit your breaking point, where you have this power, and almost it's like something inside you have to get out. It's you feel your destiny, and it's so strong inside you, you have to make a play. You can no longer be the person that you were, in his case, a stormtrooper.
Right. Okay, then we get to the new Cuckoo Pants Magoo over here, Kylo Ren. This guy...
Don't call him that to his face.
He is absolutely out of his mind.
You just called Kylo Ren Cuckoo Pants Magoo.
He is out of his mind. He's crazy. Like,
John, go ahead and leave. We don't want you don't want to be around when Kylo Ren hears it.
I don't care. I'll call him Cuckoo. He's really far away. But he is menacing and he is crazy. He's worshiping a helmet, and he's like Cinderella. He's locked up in his tower all by himself. He's talking to mice soon. But he's so.
Are you kidding? Kylo Ren is like any one of us. How much sports memorabilia do all of us have? You're making fun of him. Look at all the Star Wars toys on your set right now. We all worship this crap.
Now, what you didn't see, what they cut it off in the trailers when you're talking the helmet, and then he says, "What do you think, Mr. Hand?" I think we should go get him.
I love how crazy he is, and I think it's going to be incredible because you see him, and he's basically saying how he's going to finish what you started. Then the shot of the Vader helmet.
And the breath.
Amazing. And like that he's going to be obsessed with Vader. It also makes me, because he's so obsessed with him, it gives me the hope that we will, and I'll be okay with it, because J.J. Abrams loves flashbacks anyway, so I'm okay with a Vader flashback, or Vader holocron, to see him studying and learning more about what Vader did, and maybe past, if there was a journal that, as far as because Sith did that. Sith kept their holocrons, and to find a Vader holocron, I would lose my mind.
Like something like what Superman's old man did for him, where he's kind of still there and kind of give him advice and guide him, and you hear the voice. You're going to hear Darth Vader. You might even be able to see him in a visage. I mean, it's so exciting that's one of the ways that the same way that Rey and Finn want to know more about the legend that Han was telling them about, same thing with the dark side of the Force. We want to know more about this team that we've loved, and we want to be like you guys. How can we pull that off?
I am still holding off a little. I still think there's a slightest bit of possibility. Because when he says, I'm going to finish what you started, what?
Right.
What was it that Vader started that he was unable to complete, that you are so obsessed with?
Killing Jedi.
That's a really good option. That could be one of it. There's still a part of me that hopes. I mean, it's very unlikely. There's still a part of me that hopes that, remember, ultimately what set Anakin on the path to the dark side was the promised secret of immortality, to keep people from dying. I still wonder, because we talked about this once before, I wonder if Kylo Ren isn't trying to somehow bring Darth Vader back. One way or the other, through whatever things, and Han Solo and Leia are like, y'all don't understand.
Right.
Like, who cares? It's just one. Who cares to bring one guy back? You don't understand. This was Darth Vader and what he can do. It's very unlikely, but man, that would be awfully sweet.
I'm also curious because he's so. It seems like he is the Vader of this franchise for sure. Or I keep saying franchise of this trilogy, and it goes to the next scene, and it was very reminiscent to me of when Vader was torturing Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. You have Kylo Ren torturing Poe, and he's using the Force. Not even with Vader was using machines. This dude's using his hand, and then it cuts to. It doesn't. I don't know if he's really messing with his brain as far as hurting him or crushing him, but it looks
he was
like
grabbing his balls with his other hand.
That's what he was doing.
He's just
Absolutely.
waving one hand, grabbing his balls
picking
with
the
other.
balls.
He was like, I'm watching it right now. He's like pushing his hand. His hand is not on his balls. He's like, he's almost like he's pushing his head down. Like he wants him to behold me. He wants him to bow down before me.
Well, what it looks like, the way that they cut it in the trailer, was that he's putting images in his head, because the next shot that you see is the image of destruction and just pure chaos. And I don't know if that's Alderaan. Probably not. It's probably this new super weapon that you saw in the poster, what that's able to do. Now, the rumors are that it could destroy star systems. Interesting. But, that's what it looked like to me when he was kind of putting images inside of Poe's head.
No, I think that's bang on, because he can do that, and that's a great way for a Sith to torture somebody mentally.
I don't think he's a Sith, though.
Sorry.
A knight of Ren.
One who practices in the arts of the dark side.
I mean, let's be honest. He takes Darth Vader's helmet and he makes a magic 8-ball out of it. Jedi attacks these
I
new
see the one
kids.
scene where he picks up.
Signs point to maybe.
Yeah. And then you see, what I love is you get, and it goes back to what John was saying with the imagery and showing you that you're in Star Wars. This is Star Wars. Like the Millennium Falcon once again being chased by TIE fighters, and the scream of the TIE fighter as it's chasing, and the roar of the Millennium Falcon. It's like, oh, this is Star Wars.
There are very few visual hooks for us emotionally as fans of the original trilogy than the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
It is the physical representation, really. And Mark, when we were watching the trailer, Mark made a really great observation.
I did?
I know, it's weird.
What, he realized he ran out of Alfredo sauce.
It happened.
But the observation he made was, and you might have meant it just for this trailer, like they are really featuring the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, that Millennium, especially in that chase with the TIE fighters on Jakku, the Millennium Falcon has been front and center in all of their marketing pieces.
Right.
They really are, and I think that is a very smart move, because no physical thing screams Star Wars like the Millennium Falcon.
Maybe a lightsaber, but that's about it.
And
maybe
no,
then, but
not even a person does either. Like not even
Yeah.
somebody who's aged 30 years or somebody who's new to the franchise. Nothing's going to sell it as well as the Millennium
Yeah.
Falcon.
the
Yeah.
But
Millennium
also,
Falcon wasn't in Indiana Jones,
I-
so it's only Star Wars.
Right.
I have heard the TIE fighter squeal more than I ever have before. They are selling the crap out of that in these
it's great.
trailers, and I love hearing
Me
it.
too.
It is, how a song gets stuck in your head? Like a lot of people get Rick rolled. I get TIE fighter rolled. Like I just have that in my ear constantly.
It's really, really good. The fact that I just love what they have brought together these battles, and it's not even just in space. It's all over these different planets, and I love what they show. But then it cuts to Rey and Finn listening intently to Han Solo.
Yeah.
And he's telling them that all of it, everything, it's all true. And I turned to John, because I watched it again for like the fourth or fifth time, and he walked in and I said, that's not Harrison Ford. That's Han Solo. Like I've seen like Harrison Ford in roles. I've seen Bruce Willis as Bruce Willis. I've seen these characters as just themselves. That's Han Solo. Just that one line. Like I believed it. Like, oh, he's talking history here. Like, I love the idea that, and it goes back to what you guys were saying earlier, that what has happened in those 30 years that people have forgotten completely about the Jedi. I guess Luke didn't build them back. I guess, what happened with the Sith? There's so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, it's almost like they realize the power of the Force, and they are like, we have to keep this thing under wraps a little bit. And maybe the way that the landscape in this universe is now is like, let's just kind of forget about all this mystical stuff because it just got too powerful. Maybe it's like nuclear warfare for us, It's like, it's just this thing that's just so crazy that we shouldn't even bother with this stuff at all, and we should go back to basics, and that's why the Force is now awakening, because somebody found something, so somebody's going to have to counter it, and now we're off on our adventure. I love that this conversation took place in the Millennium Falcon, in that lobby area where so many cool conversations have happened already, and they had that new thing that they're looking at, like the Minority Report. It looks like a planet grid or something. Like there's been some new installations into the Falcon.
That actually reminded me of Knights of the Republic. And I don't know if Dennis picked it up. So like there was they had for the Ebonhawk in Knights of the Republic, they had these grids where you could click on the planets and go to those planets, and they looks like they put that back, and they put that into the Millennium Falcon. I love it.
One of the things that you're pointing out, though, I think is a really good observation that both of you are alluding to, is that a lot of us have been assuming up until this point that at some point Luke has gone into exile. I'm starting to think Luke was sent into exile. What if after the Empire fell, and I think a lot of the universe didn't realize what the Emperor was, that he was actually like the Dark Lord of the Sith. But maybe that all comes out and they're like, you know what, screw this Force stuff. And, it's like, hey, Luke, we're glad for all you did, but you got to leave town. I'm like, what if this was a situation where
you think Leia would sign off on that, though?
I don't know that Leia would have the ultimate say. I mean, if the universe is calling for it, and Luke might just go, you know what, it's cool. I'm just going to go and hang out with these holocrons or whatever. I'm just starting to wonder, what if it wasn't Luke just going, hey, I'm tired and weary from the battle. I need to go and take a siesta. What if it was more like, hey, the universe doesn't trust Jedi or Force users right now, so to protect the galaxy and to keep the peace, I'm just going to go.
And if you are going to bury the Force, much like you'd bury nuclear technology, then the last thing you have to do, if you're Luke Skywalker, is bury yourself. Is just get the hell out of Dodge.
I think the only reason I'm going to go on the other side of that is because from reading all the canon stuff too, and that one weapon of the Jedi is that he talks about at the end when he visits this temple that he promises to come back and he promises to restore the Jedi Order. And they made a fact to put it in this Journey to the Force Awakens book. I think that there's something that happened to where he found a lot of the Force users and he's trained a bunch. I think that he's trained a bunch. To how much and how big, I don't know, because it also shows who the hell is Kylo Ren hunting. And I think it's going to be some Force-sensitive people Did Luke start the Knights of Ren?
Did he train the Knights of Ren and then they kind of went rogue?
I think you pointed out before the Knights of Ren have probably been around for a very, very long time. Like, what if John Boyega, as a child, was a protege of Luke Skywalker?
Right.
What if this isn't just his first time picking up a lightsaber? What if he's a lot like Kanan was?
Right.
Where so he was a Jedi Padawan,
became a
in a sense,
stormtrooper,
and then Luke splits.
I love that all these possibilities are absolutely possible, and we're talking about the Knights of Ren, by the way. That's the next shot. This is where, and I talked about this, I think, in the last Jedi Council, was that J.J. Abrams is incorporating more of a medieval thing to Star Wars, to where we're going to get Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars, which is something I've always wanted to see.
Yeah.
And the shot of the Knights of Ren, which I'm sold, it's the Knights of Ren because they all look like knights.
Yeah. I was mentioning at the first, I thought it was Kylo Ren with a bunch of stormtroopers in black. And then you showed me close up. No, that's the freaking Knights of Ren.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Just the way they're all standing around. Again, Kristian, you knocked it out of the park. Like they're the Fellowship, like a really evil Fellowship that's actually looking for the ring instead of trying to get rid of it. They just look like they're ready for action. The fact that it's raining.
Yeah,
how many times you don't see rain that much. It's just so good.
People have been asking who the guys from the raid are playing.
I mean, yeah, I think that's your answer right there. They're playing the Knights of Ren, no doubt.
And that being said, we're just seeing in this trailer Kylo Ren fighting somebody. What happens when all those guys fight somebody?
I bet they're all proud owners of lightsabers.
Look out.
Well, it looks like they're powwowing after they just decimated a town. I think they're just decimated a place.
Interesting. Because if he's the leader of this particular faction of the Knights of Ren, or if he's the leader of all of them. I don't know, but if he's so obsessed with Vader, they're all obsessed with Vader. And even if you go back to Aftermath with Chuck Wendig's book, when there's that little insert about the beginning, it looks like, of these Vader worshippers. I wonder if it ties into any of that. But anyway, moving on. Then you have Poe in that shot in the X-wing, but it expands more because they're on a different planet. It could be Yavin. I don't know where it is, but it's a Yavin type planet, and there's TIE fighters versus the X-wings, and then it looks like it was very reminiscent to A New Hope at the very end when all the rebels are gathering, and there seems to be a ton of them this time. It was
at some kind of rallying point.
Yeah, resistance. And this shot, and we saw this in a little bit of that teaser that before they released the trailer of Poe walking up to Finn, puts his hand on his shoulder, and he kind of nods to him, and Finn just kind of gives him a look like there's history there. And remember we were saying in that shot that they showed, that video they showed at Comic-Con with the Stormtrooper walking, I'm more convinced even more now that Stormtrooper was Finn.
I don't disagree, actually, as a matter of fact. And I'm glad you brought up that one shot of Poe walking by John Boyega, putting his hand on his shoulder. I'm sure hardly anybody picked up on this because it's really not that important. But that was one of those swinging Steadicam shots that you never saw in any of the original trilogy. It was so visually different from anything we've seen in Star Wars before, because those types of movements just weren't things that George Lucas used in the original Star Wars films, and it looked pretty cool. It was really neat seeing it.
It was the way that scene played out, and the opening scene with Rey scavenging around. That just felt like something I'd never seen in Star Wars yet. I still felt like I was in that universe. With that scene, it really is like a Maverick Iceman kind of feel where they seem to have started out as rivals, and then reluctantly, but admittedly, they have to be on the same page because there's a greater thing at play here. Like, they didn't like each other at all. They still have. It's like a Rocky and Apollo thing, you know? Right. They went against each other. Now they have to be on the same side.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, if you would have told me that there was one guy that is hesitant about it and there's one guy that was accepting of it, I would have reversed it. I would have thought Oscar Isaac would have been the guy that's like, I'm not going to be friends with that guy, but it looks like the opposite there. The other shot that's interesting, and we also picked it up when they teased it yesterday, was when you see Finn, the Millennium Falcon is behind him in that shot as well too, which means it's prepared. It's going to be in the fight. Now, who is piloting at that point?
Oh, dear God, it is. I just noticed. I watched that thing 30 times yesterday. Did not notice Millennium Falcon back there, but you're right.
It's in the back. Yeah. And then there's, again, more X-Wings and TIE fighters. We're going to get that big battle. There's that shot. See, this is one of the things that I think that I had said, one of us had said it, back in Jakku when the TIE fighter's coming down and it looks like they're about to get into a ship and the TIE fighter blows it up. There's that big explosion there, and then there's this shot. Where the hell Han Solo is taking them? It's like a party store. I don't know what it is, but
with all the various flags.
There's all these flags and everything too, and then there's this big kind of droid. It
looks like some kind of temple.
Yeah,
either a temple, an interstellar sports bar. It's something it's something of significance in the universe. He's not just going there for fun. I love the trepidation of BB-8, just like kind of toying, like he's kind of got himself in neutral behind them. Yeah. I love that it's Han and it's Finn and it's Rey and they're going on this adventure together.
Is this where, and BB-8's there too, is this where they're looking for Luke maybe? Is this one of the places they're searching for Luke? Because Luke is the next shot. Luke's the next shot. Right after,
if that's Luke,
that's Luke. I don't think that was Luke.
I think it's Luke.
I hope you're right, but I didn't think it was Luke at all.
I think it's Luke in a flashback.
But it would make sense because it looks like a temple that has been repurposed. No, because I think all the flags tell us that this was a temple, and now it's like a flea market, and now it's like whatever. Like now it's used for other things. That's what it felt like to me. So it would totally make sense that, well, let's start looking, and that's a place to start.
He turned into Indiana Jones. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah, Luke belongs in a museum. And then I still, like I said, I think that is Luke in that shot. I think it's a flashback. And then we get.
You're talking about with the hand on R2.
The hand on R2, the one that we saw in the last teaser. I think that's going to wind up being Luke. Then we see Captain Phasma leading the stormtroopers, blowing up villages. This seems like a really intense raid because we know that Kylo Ren is there too. Yeah. Because we saw that in I think you even see him in this trailer as well too. But in the last teaser, he is there with the hand and. Something really devastating happens. This could be the opening scene, maybe, where, I don't know, where
this
Finn...
is an atrocity that happens.
Yeah.
There's something very bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be surprised if this is the same scene in which we saw those Knights of Ren rallying around Kylo Ren.
Right.
I'm not gonna be surprised if it's the same scene.
Yeah, the weather doesn't look great here. Like, it's about to start raining, which it was raining after they finished it. I like that Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren, we kind of get confirmation that they are working together, at least in part, because they're on the same mission. And I think this scene might tie into something that we see later on when Daisy Ridley's looking very upset. Because
That's the next shot here.
Is it really? Because it could be something where they kill somebody she's really close to, and that is what sets her off on her path to kicking a lot
Quick
of bad
question:
guy ass.
When I watched Captain Phasma walking through that shot, the first thing that struck me was it feels like Phasma carries herself like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the way holding the weapon. And stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
No, I know what you're saying.
That's Boba Fett under the armor,
but that we're getting that type of character.
Yeah, that's what we feel like.
Now,
to me.
I don't think that Daisy Ridley is there at that point because
It looks like it's snowing.
It's snowing. I think this is the end. This is towards the end of the movie, and now I keep thinking that Han bites the dust. Now, as I'm looking down, someone's laying in front of her. I was like, "Oh, that's Han," but that looks like fur on the top right there. That looks like Chewie. Man.
Don't even go there. I don't even want to consider it.
I'm just telling you that looks. If you look at you freeze that shot.
I know. I saw the fur too.
That looks
I totally
like fur.
did, but I'm thinking it's her fuzzy little buddy that's in the desert.
And then it almost looks like the.
I know. I saw it
Chewie
too. I'm in
ain't
denial.
going anywhere.
I'm totally in denial about
Relax.
this.
Chewie is going to be alive and well going into Episode 8. You don't have to worry about it.
Because the next shot is Chewie and Boyega and Han, and they're all.
Yeah,
Chewie's
they were
got
just captured.
Chewie's got his arm wrapped up.
And something good happened.
Yeah,
Chewie's got a bandage on his
it
arm, so
seems like it.
maybe he got injured, and that's why Daisy Ridley's upset,
Yeah.
because her dog got injured, not killed.
I don't know. I think that's beforehand. I think it's a little that's clever editing. But anyway, then we have BB-8 in what looks to be an X-wing. So it's going to be. I really think it is Poe's droid because the next shot you see is Poe and he's flying through. And Poe, I really want to learn more about Poe, and this is where you just see more of the war, Star Wars. We're gonna get those big epic battles. That's what we get now. I think the benefit of making a Star Wars movie in 2015 is the scale of the battle that we're gonna see when we get to the climax of the movie. It's going to be we're gonna have these emotional fights of whoever's fighting with Kylo Ren or even if Luke pops in. That's great, and I can't wait for that. But what makes Star Wars as well are those battles.
Yeah, that blew me away. You're talking about the scene in the snow with the X-Wings coming down, all the TIE fighters coming up towards it. It just looks just like that is one of those things where Mark Ellis in a theater just going, like how much popcorn
gaining
can I shove
20
in my-
pounds right there.
Oh my! I'm gonna be so fat come this goose is gonna be ready for Christmas.
It was
Day.
very
the
reminiscent
BB-8.
of that shot in Return of the Jedi when the opposing
Yes,
side
yes.
actually tried to go crisscross.
Yeah.
It felt great. It
The
felt so good.
Crisscross.
the last few shots, and I think John, you said this is one of your favorite shots. Is when it looks like an angry Rey is just firing off this gun at somebody, this blaster. She's shooting at somebody. We don't know who it is, but she is angry, and it looks like she is now on a different planet. Like that the shots that we've seen of her looking up and seeing all the TIE fighters.
She ain't on Jakku
No,
in this
I don't
shot
know where
at all.
yeah.
And she might, and it looks like a much better weather front has moved in than when it was snowing, and she was upset over a wounded but definitely not dead Chewbacca.
Right. Well, then there's a few more shots that we've seen with Kylo Ren and a couple stormtroopers getting
I
blown
like
away.
the scene of that X-wing flying.
That
in,
is
and
my
he
favorite
shoots the
shot.
stormtrooper in
And
the eye.
a fighter shooting a soldier. Haven't seen that yet. An X-wing shooting a stormtrooper. Not seen that in any Star Wars movie. That shot looked awesome.
Yeah.
It
that
looked
was
great.
cool.
And then we see our very first glimpse in a trailer, not in a poster, but in a trailer of Leia. Woohoo! And we see Leia, and she's hugging Han. And I think at this point, that's why I still go by my theory of them not being together, because her face looks like this. It's like this reunion. It looks like a reunion of the two. It looks like they haven't seen each other in a bit, and that it's just this, because that was the thing with her. She's tough and she's powerful, but he was one of the one person to kind of soften her a bit.
Oh yeah, he's the one that brought out her vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I think when she hugs him, you see that there's almost a look of remorse on her face. Like, I'm really sorry that I cheated on you with Lando 29 years ago and had a child that we named Finn.
Better than Chewie.
It's the same look that she has when she hugs Han in Return of the Jedi when she says, "Hold me," and he would just like she just collapses into that beautiful barrel chest. And
it looks like they haven't hugged in a while. The look on her face says it's like they haven't hugged in a long time.
Okay, easy. You're reading a lot into this, boys.
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll maybe.
I mean, I know we're doing this with the entire trailer, but she could just be.
We've been reading into this entire thing.
She could just be happy to see her husband. Then he made it back with some new friends in the Millennium Falcon.
All right, we'll have to see. And then the money shot. You got Finn, and he's got that lightsaber. And this is why it doesn't seem like somebody who just learned how to use a lightsaber yesterday. He's got a good hold.
He holds it correctly.
And then, but he is scared out of his mind. You see, because,
you look at his eyes.
Yeah, and you have Kylo Ren now approaching him, and the helmet's off.
Yeah,
like that's to me when I saw that I screamed out. I went, the helmet's off. Because why does he have the helmet on?
Because that gorgeous hair will intimidate John Boyega. That's why I take the helmet off.
And then just that shot, it reminded me like Jon Snow, the way that when he was holding up, like ready. It had a Game of Thrones feel to it. That very last shot.
But do you think he took his mask off, or do you think it got knocked off?
I don't know. That was very.
It's a pretty intimidating mask.
It is.
Like if it was me personally, I'd leave the mask on as long as possible.
And the other thing, and going not just the imagery, but the things that were said was the fact to basically embracing the Force.
Yeah.
And it's calling to you, and it seems like that. I don't know. I still think she's talking to. I mean, I think she's talking to Rey. She could be talking to Finn. I don't know. Maz Kanata, that is. But regardless, the theme of the movie is the fact that the Force awakens.
Or it could be, her talking to her young son, Kylo. All those years ago that set him off on. I mean, the possibilities are. But who do we think that voice at the end is?
I think it's Maz Kanata the whole way through.
You think it is?
Yeah.
Because I think in the beginning when you hear "Who are you?" there's more of there's a bit of a grumble in the voice, and I found the voice at the end does not. I don't know. What do you think?
The first time I heard the voice, Maz Kanata, the name ran through my head. I was also, I don't know how the whatever is that who Lupita Nyong'o is playing, or if she's playing some sort of alien. That's the guess that I had.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't know all the characters that we're going to see in this movie. Even we none of us do.
Right.
We don't. This could be a whole new voice. I know it's definitely
That's
not
true.
Leia,
Yeah.
but it's the female presence is very strong in this new trilogy, and that's a great thing.
All right, we're going to wrap this up here, but John, before we do, why don't you go ahead and pose the question?
The question that we often forget to ask, but we mean to ask at the end of every one of our Jedi Councils, even this special session of Jedi Council, is the possibility, the percentage chance that Kylo Ren and Rey are actually brother and sister. They are. Well, I think the bet has always been related.
No, you said brother and you said siblings.
Siblings, sorry.
Siblings.
Yeah, that they are indeed siblings. So, Mark, let's start with you.
Oh, thanks, John.
After seeing the trailer now and the poster that dropped yesterday, where do you set it?
When I saw the poster yesterday at 9 in the a.m., I was like 99% they're brother and sister. And then I started backtracking a little bit from that, and then I started going back a little more. So I think as of right now, I'm higher. I think the last time we did this, I was like 49, 51%, something like that. I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to say 69% that they are brother and sister.
John?
They're definitely related, but 69% that they're brother and sister.
Yeah, I'm hovering around the 97%. I'm almost willing to put money on it.
Wow.
At this point, that they are both the granddad Vader and that Han and Leia are their parents.
All right, well then I'll go completely the other way and I'll say 3%.
Oh, wow.
Because I do not
You're
think
convinced they're cousins.
I convinced they're cousins.
Right.
I think that I really do believe that Luke is Rey's pops.
Well, I think we'll all say at this point that we are either at or just a hair under 100% that they are both Skywalker lineage, that they are at least related.
I don't think anybody doubts that.
I don't think none of us doubt that, right?
No,
they are at the very minimum they are cousins.
This is a Skywalker
possibly
story.
Family.
Always has been. So
Yeah.
in some way or another, they're all. I mean, they're all Skywalkers.
Yeah.
I mean, even Kylo Ren is a Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, by lineage.
When he's holding that helmet, that's his grandfather.
Yeah.
Not just his hero. That's
Right.
also his grandfather's
Right.
helmet.
Just
yeah.
because Solo's his dad, he's Skywalker. So, okay, we're gonna find out in less than 2 months. We're gonna find out who was right, who was wrong.
You know
John-
what?
Yeah.
I got confirmation I'm going to find out in 2 months because I bought my tickets even before.
Yeah.
You guys get your tickets already?
Yeah, we
Yes,
all
we
got
did.
them.
Went online
Yeah.
right before the big internet crash in 2015.
I know.
I
Yeah.
got 2.
All right, that was our very special episode It was The Force Awakens Trailer 3, official trailer, whatever you want to call it. That was our breakdown today. It comes up to you guys. Now, you guys, go ahead and comment below. Tell us some of your favorite moments of the trailer. Tell us some of your speculations, your theories, anything that we've talked about today on this episode, if you agree with, disagree with. Let's have a conversation about it in the comments. It's one of the things I have been loving, and the three of us have been loving, is going through the comments and watching the discussion and getting tweets about how our discussions have gotten you guys even more interested in Star Wars. That, as Star Wars fans, to us means the world to us. So thank you for watching this episode here. I'd like to thank the council who joined me today on the very special episode. Mark 2D2, where can they find you?
Well, first of all, Chewie's not going to die. Don't worry. Second of all, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 5150 Ellis. And the weekend The Force Awakens comes out, I'll be doing stand-up in Tempe, Arizona at the Improv. That's where I got my tickets for The Force Awakens. I'll be seeing it there opening night at 10:50 in the p.m. at Center Point AMC. It's like 2 blocks away from the Improv. So you want to go see the movie with me? I'll be hanging around. I'm seeing the 10:50 showing in 3D.
Mr. 97%, Obi-John Kenobi. John, where can they find you?
You guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Besides the fact that we will probably be lucky enough to see it at a press screening earlier
Maybe.
on. I will be at the AMC Burbank 16 at 11 p.m. on Thursday the 17th, watching it there in the Prime Theater. I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to go out and say, I didn't say this in a review, and I can't believe I haven't said this, or you guys haven't said it either. This was my favorite of the three. This trailer was my favorite of the three. Yeah, I really love this. Now, I wasn't in the room at Star Wars Celebration when they played the second one, and I'm sure being in that environment would be very emotionally compelling to like that. But as I just sit back, look at the three, I think they're all great, but I actually think this one was my favorite one of the bunch.
I think overall, I think top to bottom, this was my favorite trailer. The Chewie We're Home might be my favorite moment.
Best moment.
From
best
any
moment.
of them, followed closely by the first time you saw the Millennium Falcon in the teaser trailer, because you heard the Star Wars music again for the first time. But top to bottom, lineup to lineup, batter 1 through batter 9, this was the best trailer.
Yeah, I agree with you guys as well, too. I think that I was in Celebration. I did see the room. I was talking to...
We wept.
We did. And I was talking to Wendy about it before we started here, was that... it was that environment. It was the fact that I got to see that trailer with thousands of other Star Wars fans as excited as we were. There's something to that. That's exactly why I'm so excited to see the movie in the theater with Star Wars fans, to get that feel again. But as far as overall content went, as much as I love the other ones, this one gave me the most I've gotten.
We got so
far.
much.
There's just so much. And going up with these guys, I will be going to seeing it at the Universal City Walk AMC. I will be there on 11 p.m. on Thursday. So again, if you guys are down there, it'll be a lot of fun.
And look, we want to point out that we are friends off camera. The fact that we're seeing it at 3 different locations, we had to get tickets when we got tickets. I'm on the road. These guys weren't around each other when you actually buy the tickets, so we couldn't all link up. We will probably all see it together multiple times.
We'll probably see it together before opening day.
Would you stop jinxing us, John? Knock on wood. Knock on as much wood as possible.
All right, that's it. That's a very special episode. Thank you for joining us. And yes, we will have our normal, regularly scheduled Jedi Council this Thursday. Make sure you check that out. A lot of stuff happening in Star Wars universe. I'm sure there'll be a lot more information that comes out, whether it be in canon or whatever it is. It will be there. Make sure you join us. If you've never watched the Jedi Council before, go into the archives. Check it out. See if you like the show. If this is the first time joining us, thank you. Join us again. And may the Force be with you. Always.